Dr. Amin is associate professor at the University of North Texas at Dallas. He's a social gerontologist with expertise in interdisciplinary research on aging and sustainable community building. He has received numerous grants and contracts. His current project as the primary investigator / evaluator is funded by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, and it focuses on promoting mental health and wellness in the community. He serves on Congresswoman Johnson's Senior Advisory Board and Congresswoman Johnson's Asian Advisory Committee. He's the elected chair of Age Well, Live Well, coalition led by the Texas Department of Aging and Disability Services. Before joining UNT Dallas, he has served as an assistant professor at the University of Louisiana at Monroe, was the recipient of the Endowed Professorship of Gerontology, and was appointed as a member of the Louisiana Governor's Encore Commission. Dr. Amin serves as board member for the nonprofit Future Without Poverty. He is the associate editor of the Sustainable Communities Review Journal. Courses that Dr. Amin teaches include social gerontology, long-term care case management for the elderly, minority aging, volunteer management, grant proposal writing, and images of aging in film. With that, Dr. Amin, the floor is yours.
Thank you for that introduction. I'll just get started with one question because I teach at the university. So I try to get people's feedback. And thank you all for being here and being patient with me with my presentation. And here is something I will start with. Anyone here doesn't have a cell phone or a smartphone? No smartphone. Can you hear me?
Yes, so we can hear you. I guess you asked the question if anybody does not have a smartphone. So
right.
Nobody's responding because everybody has a smartphone.
Okay. Anyone who doesn't have high-speed internet at home? Okay. So the reason I'm asking this question is when it comes to access to internet, when it comes to digital information, and when it comes to using the internet or computer, when we are talking about older people, they are way behind in terms of general population. So my presentation today I'm doing is basically giving you kind of an overview of digital divide and financial exploitation of the elderly population. And I'm kind of loud because I'm sitting in the hallway at a conference. So I'm just trying my best and I'm trying the headphone and hope I apologize for the loudness. So can you move to the next slide?
Your sound is perfect. You don't have to worry about that. And yes,
okay.
I will move to the next slide. There we go.
Okay, so I will give you one example. Anyone remember those days when we were in the grocery shopping and we'll see someone writing a check in front of us? And if you try to visualize that person. So what was the reaction of the people who are standing behind that person in the line and waiting for the person to complete writing that check? Rhetorical question. What was the reaction? Anyone would like to respond to that question I had?
Irritation.
Irritation, right?
Impatience.
So, impatient, right? Do you irritate it? So when we go to the grocery shopping or stores, do you still see people using checks?
Rarely.
Rarely. What happened there? Why people are not using checks?
It's easier to use the debit card.
Debit card, right? So basically, we changed from that technology of using a physical check or money to this digital technology, right? But when it comes to keeping up with the digital technology, it moves so fast. Nowadays, when you go to the store, many people don't even use credit cards or debit cards. They are using their phone. And so the thing that I'm making or trying to make, a significant part of our older population don't have broadband wireless, don't have cell phone, don't have money. And when it comes to banking, if you think about it, in the last decade or so, it moved totally virtual, online, more technology based. But we didn't really educate our population. This older population didn't really keep up with the change of the technology. So I have some data here. You can see like 41% of the population don't have wireless broadband access. And even if they do, they have slow connection. So could you move to the next slide? So what are the things that's happening or hindering their use, the challenges? The first one, they don't have access. Even if they do have access, they don't have the digital skills. And another thing, if you think about, just remember what we experienced in 2020 during the pandemic, a, all of a sudden, we changed everything to digital. And when it came time to use the technology, our older population were not digitally equipped or skilled to use the technology. Can you all follow me so far? Just give me a thumbs up. Okay. So, and the other thing that's happening is, like, when it comes to technology, it's mostly designed and catered to the younger population. And our society is so obsessed with younger or youth. And when we design the software, designing the app, it's not designed to cater to the older population. So as a result, the older population struggle using the technology. And there are several studies that came out recently where it showed that older population have more difficulty than the younger population using the financial banking and financial or online banking resources. Another thing that's happening is the psychological resistance of the older people to learning the new technology. And another important thing is this asymmetrical formation of knowledge or information that's not really helping the older adults to keep up with the technological change. And then the other thing is financially, they don't have the means. Even if we have the best of the technology, apps, education, but they don't really financially have the resources to use those technology. And other issues that also is important when it comes to scam and financial abuse is social isolation. Older adults are isolated from the banking system in some way, and how to use it, when to use it, and they have limitations because they never really kept up with the change or modification and the things that happened over the years. Any question or comment? If anyone have any comment or question, you can interrupt me and raise your hand and share it. Are you all good so far?
I'm all good. It looks like everybody else is all good. I don't see any hands raised.
Okay, so, and let's move on to the next slide, if you could.
Okay, yeah.
And the things that happen as a result of the social isolation is in many cases, older adults, like nowadays, most of the young population are communicating using different social media and resources. Yes, the number of older adults participating in social media have significantly increased since 2010, but still they are lacking. And one thing that I learned in over the years is social isolation, is loneliness, is one of the major thing that's happening among the older adults. So they might not communicate with like the older, younger people. They are getting their information from social media, instant information, instant access to things that's happening around the world. And whereas the older people might not even know what's going on. So for example, some of the older people are falling for scam through, because since they are lonely, they're looking for a companionship, and scammers or criminals, they're using their loneliness or not knowing about what's going on out there, is making them uh, prey, or kind of they making them victim, or they are becoming victim of all kinds of new scams that's going on around the world. Could we move to the next slide, please?
Okay.
So one thing I will just kind of focus, the digital transformation of financial services. How many of like us nowadays, we don't even go to the bank to deposit our checks. We are not taking out money. We are not, we are using all kinds of digital sources, and we are shopping, we are entertained online. So the banking system have done the same thing, but they didn't take into consideration a large segment of the population don't really have kept up with the technological change. So like the first scenario I explained about the check is this younger person, older person just got used to this writing checks, moved from using cash. And then all of a sudden, everything moved electronic, credit cards, debit cards. And they didn't have a chance to just modify their trans, transactions or financial activities. And all of a sudden, now we are talking about Apple Pay. We are talking about all kind of phones or devices used as a form of financial transaction. So which makes it difficult. And if you think about smartwatches and smartphones, these devices are expensive. The technology is changing so rapidly every year that for the older people who are on limited income with all kinds of financial constraint, they don't really had the chance to transform their behavior or use of the digital financial services. Another thing I will just remind you, many of these older people grew up with grew up with the idea of interacting with people in person. So all of a sudden moving to this virtual format is difficult. Like I said earlier, the psychological resistance, they don't want to go through it. And there are so many scary stories out there that makes them nervous about using those digital services. And so the other challenges we have are, uh, so when we talk about access to technology, next slide, please. Who have access to technology? Young people, educated, affluent, and that creates this digital divide. Accessibility to internet is almost becoming kind of a basic need for people. Because if you think about it, we need internet for communication. Today would be a good example. This experience I just had. I had a smartphone. I have a smartphone. I have a computer. I have fast internet access. I'm at this national conference for of Gerontological Society of America. I'm have a hard time communicating with even here with all the education and technology. Think about that 65 and older or 75 and older person who is trying to use the internet or use the technology. And so we have to, the challenges I talked earlier, in many cases, this is complicated. We have a hard time figuring it out. And even with all the technology, all the education, trying to keep up with the changes, we still cannot find an email. It might be sitting somewhere, it might be blocked, it might be junk. So when we are talking about older people, we never had the educational system that support the older people. Our education system is kind of biased toward educating certain group of the population. It's like when we have someone older than 30 years or older people, student who is trying to go through the education, we term them or we stigmatize them saying non-traditional student. Whereas the education should be universal, it could be across the across the board. It should not be limited to certain age group. And here I have some few information in this slide. You can see like how things have changed rapidly, and then there are other barriers. Is we haven't had a chance of connecting older people with all different types of technology and education. That misinformation, miseducation is giving access or encouraging the spammers or scammers, spamming them or scamming them down the road. And I started talking about one thing that older adults are facing, which leads to financial abuse. They're looking for companionships, and scammers know it because they're lonely. Even they're scammed, they might not have someone to talk to, someone to communicate, someone to work on that issue. That whole discussion we just had few minutes ago, beginning of this uh, uh, meeting, you can see like we still don't know how to handle these scenarios because of the jurisdictions. If someone is scammed from Brazil, how we handle that, and then you have to have the connection. The case might not be big enough to go after, but for that person who is scammed or who has lost like 20,000, whatever amount of money, hard-earned money, it's a big for them. So empowerment and education is important. Uh, could we move to the next session, next slide? So we have to, few things we have to take into consideration as a society. We have to design the technology that is usable, that's not complicated for older people to use. And then we have to design apps or design or encourage like these financial institutions when they're moving their services online or making it high tech, they should take into consideration how they are going to bring those older people on board. And education and the design is important. And in order to get there, any question or I hear some noise?
Guys, I think it's
Okay, so how we can address those challenges? The design should be universal or applicable or taking into older people into consideration. The next thing I think is very important as a society, we have to have a policy level support, create funding for education of the older adults when it comes to financial education, cybersecurity, spam prevention. Because even when if most of us on this call might have some sort of scam cybersecurity training through their organization you work with, and we have cybersecurity uh, training every year. Every year we are going through training how to secure the data, how to use the data responsibility, things like that. So what can we do to help the older adults in terms of keep them, the people who are retired, who are not working for someone or not in institutional setup? We could encourage or have some sort of policy support for education for older adults beyond the traditional age group of education. And another a few other things we can also take into consideration is we could encourage family-based digital mentoring. Like say, for example, a grandkid who is close with the grandparents could be that mentor, could be that person helping them. And another thing that's very useful based on research and your activity or experience is peer training of older adults into technological training. Basically, a person would be trained to train the other people from the cohort or group, so they feel comfortable working with that person. And definitely we'll need some other people who are who have the informational technological education or experience or expertise. And another important thing could be adult digital financial literacy. What is a scam? How to look for it? How to use it? And in next important thing would be promote inclusive development of elderly care financial services that will be catered towards older people, and maybe educating the people who are living into the community and also in a retirement community. Things like bringing the education, having some sessions for them, not virtually, in person, with some kind of workshop or small symposium. Am I making sense so far?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Okay. So could we move to the next slide? I feel like I'm doing a presentation from outer world because I feel like disconnected. Okay.
You're doing great. Thank
Okay.
you.
So basically, in summary, we have to encourage kind of the population of lifelong learning and distance education. That would be an opportunity for older adults. How we can do it? We can do it in different with partnering with different groups and different organizations. We know in general older people participate in faith-based organizations, and so bringing this education, computer educations and computer use to those faith organizations or the organizations they work with. The other thing could be we could start partnering up with the school system. It's more like intergenerational programs and say volunteers. We can recruit volunteers from different universities. And we had some departments or programs across the universities who has tried to do some activities like them, like this. They took the students to the continuing care communities and provided workshop or helped them how to maneuver this. The training we usually have catered for the employees in different big organizations for cybersecurity or cyber awareness. We could cater or do some training o- regularly for older people because the scammers are changing their strategies every time. But the older people, they are not keeping up with all those different changes of the scams going around. And then creating the skills for them or teaching them the skills and providing them the knowledge formally, informally would encourage them and give them the psychological strength and go around the stigma or reducing the stigma so they can uh, help maneuver and work with all those financial abuses. And it could be distance education, it could be through online learning. So like I said, it could be through college and universities and schools, continuing educations. Basically, we have to take this idea of need-based education for older adults in the society. Okay, next slide, please.
Okay.
So the things that I think might be helpful, many of the older adults are socially connected nowadays, use that social media to take the message back to the older people and have online conversations, and we could also start sharing some of the resources with them and make them familiar with some of the social media. And grandchildren and social media catalysts, they could serve as that person who will connect the technology, bring the education to them so they don't feel intimidated, they don't face the stigma associated with being old or not knowing the technology, not knowing how things work. Next slide. Okay, so before I end my presentation, I will just end with one example. When it comes to financial exploitation, I just recently experienced something that I would like to share. so that older people can uh, know what's going on or how things are working. Friend of mine who is associated with the faith organizations or received a text in the morning. He works in the IT sector. He's educated. He knows how to the things work. Since he received a call from one of the faith organization he is associated with, asking him that there is a meeting that's going on that night, and if he received the invitation. And he said, no, I haven't received any invitation. He said, I'm sending you the invitation. Just give me the code so I can add you to the meeting. He was not thinking. He just received a text. He gave the code back to the guy. And next thing he realized, his whole WhatsApp account was hacked, moved to a new device. He could not use his own phone. And and the guy who got the code and took control of the account was sending text to everyone asking for money from his contact list. If this could happen to a guy who is highly educated in terms of technology use and fall for that scam, think about rest of us in the society, especially older people who have not had a chance to keep up with all the scamming going around the society. So basically, we have to change our perspective and try to incorporate, educate, and bring all our older people up to the standard of before we move to all those financial transaction virtually and focusing more on the young people. We have to bring the older people on board. And I will finish with another important thing. When they're falling for all those scams or spam, a financial institution, society as a whole lost a significant amount of money as a result. And we end up indirectly paying for that scam or that loss that happens to our older population. Thank you all. And I will take any question or any comment you have. Sorry
All
for
right.
not being up to the standard with the technology.
You're fine. Thank you, Dr. Main. Appreciate your presentation. Questions, comments? It sounds like a lot of really good ideas. I know I've seen a little bit in that of those ideas in action here or there, but definitely if we could all make a concerted effort and be able to do all that, that would, I think you're right, it would make a big difference. Sue Ellen's in a chat said, thank you, Dr. Amin.
I have a
Anyone
quick
else?
question. Oh,
Yeah, go for it.
just Dr. Amin, just knowing that the population is getting older, even though we're
Mhm.
using more technology, do you think there will ever be like kind of a reversion back to doing more things in person because more of the population will need that or require that? Or do you think that money-wise, it's always going to be technology
Because
is
we have
cheaper?
to, because if you think about it, the banking we do nowadays, technology wise, the credit card was the previous generation, check was before that. And technology will evolve, but our intention should be moving with the technology or the financial means with everyone incorporated, not using the technology to exploit certain part of the society, certain group of the society, because they don't have the access to the technology. I'll give you one example. We still have, I don't know how many thousands of cash checking stores, right? Stores who are cashing the check and who are using those facilities, people who doesn't have the access to the banking. So that's just one example. Even we are using this method to exploit certain group of impoverished, undereducated population. If they can cash the check in the cash checking places, as far as I know, it's kind of expensive. They may pay more than people who have access to common banking. So I don't think we'll go back in that direction. But before we move so fast, we should try to keep everyone on board, not dropping some people from the train. Am I making sense? That answer
Yes,
your question?
thank you. It did.
Uh-huh.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. I see Lynn has a hand raised. Thank you everyone for being here. It looks like we're at 3 o'clock and I don't like to go over. I'm going to allow Lynn time to make her question or comment and then encourage everyone to check out the agenda, see what all the committees are up to. And there's a couple other items. Oh yeah, I promised Elva she could make a comment at the end of this meeting too. So Lynn, then Elva, and I will do a follow-up email. Okay,
I think
go for it, Lynn.
I think Elva had to drop off.
Oh, okay. Well, then just Lynn, and then I'll let everybody go.
My response was more so to Nitsa, the financial incentives to the financial institutions of things being electronic are too great for them to want to move away.
Right.
They don't have to have as many staff members, which costs money.
Yes.
And
yes.
yep, computers are cheaper.
Wow.
And
Are.
I will just tell you one thing. We have to be careful as a society how much we want to do the automation, because we
Right.
might automate everything. We might not have people to use the automation.
It's very true. I wasn't giving it a thumbs up, but just, from the perspective of the financial institutions, they're reaping the benefits of everything being electronic.
Right. If we have everybody bankrupt, who will buy the stuff?
That's right.
You and I can go round and round, huh, Dr. Amin?
Awesome. All right. Anyone else? Questions, comments for Dr. Amin? Thank you again,
Thank
Dr. Amin, for taking time out of your conference to present to us. And I look forward to seeing everybody either on committee meetings or at the next meeting in December. We have a social on December 10th, where we'll do collection of blankets and house shoes and socks for the APS Star Room. And then that afternoon, we'll have our traditional monthly meeting. And I'm very excited to say that we will have Erin West from Operation Shamrock. She's going to share a lot of the how things work with the transnational compounds and scams that are going on behind most of those imposter and romance scams that we're all familiar with. So it will be very interesting, and I look forward to seeing you all. Reach out if you have any questions, comments, ideas, and thanks again for being here.
you all.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you,
everybody.
Dr. Amin.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I have Dr. Amin's PowerPoint, so I'm going to share that now. And Dr. Amin, you're on the telephone at a conference. Are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great.